Hello and welcome to the Taylor Seminars. My name is Hannah and I'm here with my beautiful co-host Exquisite to talk about how Taylor Swift turns life into poetry. Would you like to say hello?
Hi, Hannah.
Exquisite is laughing because this is the second take. I accidentally said the prophecy instead of how did it end. We're on
Yeah.
how did it end. Surprise everybody. Not surprise because that's the episode we're on, but she's still laughing at me.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm just so excited.
yes, I
For,
am, but I am very excited for How Did It End, which is track 21 on
Mhm.
this double album, I guess, double deluxe album. But
Yeah.
what's so special about the track listing for this one, Exquisite?
I mean, it's technically a track five. Like, when you hold the anthology by itself, it would be number five.
Right, and if you are not a long, like, if you don't know the lore of the track fives, it is the song that Taylor usually describes as like the most vulnerable of the album. It's not necessarily the saddest, but it's a one that really cuts deep, and it's kind of worked ever since the first album, but it really came into prominence, I would say, around Red. Would you say?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Because Speak Now, it's technically like Speak Now it was there because Dare John is five, but she only had like three albums. So you could maybe see a pattern begin to emerge.
Yeah. And
But with Red, she was like, ha ha ha. And then All Too Well did what it did and became like huge fan and favorite that she was like, ah, yes.
yes, so it has
Right.
continued. The track five for the TTPD standard was So Long London. And so
Hello.
you can always go back and revisit that if you are now just learning the track five story. But yeah, this is a heartbreaking song written by, well, it's produced by Aaron and Taylor. Is it solely written by Taylor?
Um,
I don't think
well,
so.
typically,
Is it?
when Aaron and Taylor write
Yeah, it
together,
has the both of
it's
them on the credits.
usually all Taylor writing the lyrics.
Yeah, but
Like,
to his track, but she gives him writing credit.
but also what's fun about this one is that there is a full orchestra on this one.
Ooh.
Like I'm talking violins, violas, cellos, double bass, French horn, a full conductor that's credited. There is a full orchestra.
Yeah, yeah. This is a very cinematic song in that way because of the
Yeah.
full lush orchestration.
And
Well,
Taylor's a composer on this as well. So it's like she's the lyricist and the composer with Aaron and Aaron's twin brother Bryce. But Aaron is more babyier, and that's how you can tell the difference. He's baby. But
yeah.
um
So if you go into the Genius, you'll see the conductor is Robert Ames, I think.
yep.
And she has
Mm,
she has the phonographic
yep. The
copy.
orchestrator is Bryce Dessner.
I love this.
Yeah.
Good for her.
I
Um,
know, how fun.
well, why don't we get started and then we'll just be sad. Um, the intro is actually some vocalizations of "uh oh,"
Uh,
and then the verse goes, "We hereby conduct this post-mortem. He was a hot house flower to my outdoorsman. Our maladies were such we could not cure them, and so a touch that was my birthright became foreign." Should I keep going
yeah.
or should I stop here?
Loki, I think you should stop
I think
there
so.
because
There's a lot.
so much in that. Um, Especially because you guys, when this starts, Taylor specifically sets a tone with just that first line. The we hereby conduct this post-mortem. I immediately like, okay, well, Hannah, what is a post-mortem?
So a post-mortem is something that happens after something has died. It can be a
Yeah.
human, like an autopsy, right? Like after they die, they will look at the body and figure out what caused death. But a
Hmm.
postmortem can also be done in like business, corporate, political spheres when it comes
Yep.
to, okay, after this project was completed, what did we do well? What went wrong? What killed the project? It's so basically it's analysis after something has been completed, but also with the connotations usually died.
Yep. And so by immediately opening the song with the we, Taylor calls the listener in with her. So she's calling everybody to attention and she says, "We hereby conduct this postmortem." So we are about to start looking at this corpse, analyzing it, what went wrong. And to me, when I hear this, I imagine her standing on like a press conference, like and using her press conference voice. And this shapes the lens in which I see this whole song of her. She's at the stand and we're all watching. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's important. And she's going to reference the fact that everybody's watching a little later, but she's calling us to do it with her. She's like, "We hereby conduct this postmortem." And then she tells us the first thing: "He was a hothouse flower to my outdoorsmen."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, Hannah, what's a hothouse flower?
So a hothouse flower refers to like flowers that come from a tropical uh, or like a more, I guess, specific environment. So a
Mm,
hothouse, I think, refers to probably the like a what are those called? Greenhouses.
yeah.
Greenhouses where or they're often in botanical gardens or in people's backyards where you can raise tropical plants that aren't native, so that they need specific humidity, heat, light to survive and to thrive. And so to be a hothouse flower is this idea of you need to be in this safe but also highly controlled and finely tuned environment in order to survive,
Mhm.
versus an outdoorsman. An outdoorsman is somebody who just doesn't need to live in a glass house, needs can just be free, go hiking, live off the land, grow a
Uh-huh.
beard, wear one of those like beanies, and cook food with a can opener and sticks.
Not sticks.
Dude, during the pandemic, the TikToks that I would watch of like the survivalists, where they would just be like,
Yep.
they're like, "Can you make a spear?" Yeah, and then they like cut like cut things down and like use so it's so funny.
Yeah.
But you see this contrast between this person needed a perfectly controlled, climate controlled like space, whereas my didn't need that environment, like did not
Yeah.
belong,
You
like
need it.
in fact wouldn't thrive in that environment if you were in like a hardy, let's say like redwood tree that's trying to grow, like would die in a greenhouse because that's not where they belong.
Exactly. And no, yeah, basic exactly that, Hannah. Especially when you look at it, he needs such specific things in order to survive. And maybe she could have been fine in there, but she could not go further. Like it would have killed her over time. So she tells us that very second line. And then our maladies were such we could not cure them. What's a malady,
A
Hannah?
malady is like a disease. So like you'll see is like it means like bad. So like maleficent, for example, you might have heard of. And so, but I love the fact that she used the word maladies instead of disease, because it kind of fits this kind of old timey language she's
Yeah.
using with like hot house flower and outdoorsman. And
Mm.
so, and it's multiple things. It was not just one disease or one, negative thing. It was multiple.
Mm-hmm. And so a touch that was my birthright became foreign, which is just so because
So
it's like
a birthright is basically like something that is in a lot of cultures where like because you're the first child or especially the first son, like you are born with this right to either be king or to be the head of this family or to get the land, to like earn the land that your
mm,
father or usually
yeah,
father had.
like it's
Yeah,
destiny.
so it's destined. It belongs to you like inherently, and then to say no, it's cut off. It's like you're exiled. If you're became foreign, like you're not
Haha,
part of this. You're
literally exile.
literally exiled, right?
Literally exile.
And so something, this relationship, this touch, is now like she's not allowed to be anywhere near, even though it was hers.
And that's so sad.
Okay, Throw them at me, Exquisite. What are some Taylor Swift connections that you're feeling right now?
Again, I exile. Like that last line is literally now I'm in exile seeing you out. Like, no, like it's genuinely so it's so sad because it's like, how do you deal with something that should have been always been yours and now it's not?
Yeah, and what about like and Taylor Swift loves talking about touch, right? Like
Yep.
you should think about the consequence of touching my hand in a darkened room, right?
Dark
Dark
room,
room.
exactly.
Yeah, like um and then even the line before, right? Our maladies were such we could not cure them. Like that just reminds me of like all of You're Losing Me, right?
I know.
Where like
How could you say you love someone you couldn't tell was sick?
yeah, we
You couldn't
thought a
tell was
cure would
dying.
come in time, but now I fear it won't, right?
Mm,
Like um and it's just this feeling that like and then there were so many problems that they could never solve even though they tried.
I know.
And I will say one more thing about the greenhouse hothouse flower
Yeah.
thing is like I think the way that she picked this imagery was so smart because she did pick it, and it's like this idea that like if you do go into a greenhouse, and like, especially a very tropical one, it is hot and humid, and it can be oppressive, especially if you're not used to it. So it might be fine for like the first few minutes, but then after a while, you're just like, oh my gosh, like it's hard to breathe. So it
That
gives
heat
me,
will smother you.
yeah, it's smothering you, and I really feel like you get that suffocating feeling when you really think about this imagery of her being suffocated in this environment.
Yeah. And it's no wonder like their maladies were such we could not cure because she's suffocating. Like it's literally killing you. Like it can't be there's no cure.
Oh,
Um
that's so sad.
the only cure is literally leaving the greenhouse.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, so
Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is run.
oh my gosh, it's time to go. And so yeah, I love this image that you're painting about, this press conference or at least like this presentation of this. So we have so it's like she calls the meeting to order. We hereby conduct this postmortem, and then
Mhm.
she gives the diagnosis, right? Like he was a
Yeah.
hothouse flower. I was an outdoorsman, could not cure. Right? She gives that conclusion, right? And
She
then
gives a diagnosis.
yeah.
Yeah, and then literally the second verse and then the verses that come after it, um, the verses that come after it, and we'll see it begins to devolve because she starts giving like platitudes, and we'll get into it where she's just like listing things that are probably in a relationship. And then by the end, she's like, oh shit, I don't even know. Like I don't know. And we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll
But
get
just
there.
know just imagine this press conference while we're going in. And think about press conference. Press conferences, especially with people who are very good at the press, they don't tell you everything ever. And sometimes they'll cover things or they'll say something and that may not be the entire truth because they still have to do some like investigating. They're not going to tell you everything. Um, but this is her telling us. Anyway, so we get
Let's
this
do the
bridge
chorus.
the chorus that is literally come one come all, it's happening again, the empathetic hunger descends, will tell no one except all of our friends, we must know, how did it end?
I don't know if you've seen the lyric video for this. It like the font of each line gets bigger and bigger and bigger until "How did it end?" is this giant caps like
Yeah.
text
And
that's like a third of the screen.
it's like they're getting louder. They're yelling at her. This is why she has to have this press conference. Like, especially this is the chorus. Only the first two lines are her. It may not even be her speaking in this chorus. It's just come one, come all like a circus. So the circus life. I'm thinking of
Who's
oh my
afraid?
goodness. Thank you. And they're all calling it's happening again. The it's happening again is the most heartbreaking thing that could ever happen to me. And she put these lyrics up in New York release day. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm. Times Square.
It was up in Times Square, and all it said was come one, come all, it's happening again. And that's devastating,
It was
especially when you don't think you think it's the end of all the endings. Like
Oh, oh, Exquisite, don't cry. Oh, okay, let me talk while you composers. I mean, like, yeah, this idea of like, come one, come all, it's happening again. Like, it was so meta of her to be like, everyone's been watching me. They've seen my life with this summer, spring, I guess spring into summer, and how it was splashed on the front page everywhere. And she really takes that and reclaims it and uses it here. And I think that next line, the empathetic hunger descends. So empathy is like this feeling of, feeling what someone else is feeling. It's more than sympathy. It's supposed to be very like person to person versus like very like not arm's distance. But the fascinating thing is like it's seen as a hunger. Like you would never describe empathy as a hunger. Hunger is like
It's like devouring, like the
yeah,
wolves.
it's consumption, right? It's like
Yeah.
empathy should never be. This is I would say this is a paradox, right? You can't have an empathetic hunger, especially in this kind of context. And then I think the craziest word she uses is that it descends, right?
Like
Like
it's coming at her, right? It's falling on
it's
her.
like vultures. Vultures descend, right?
A
Like
pack of vultures at the feast, knives out, beaks bloody. Like it's gonna be gruesome. And because it's descending on her, she has to feed the wolves before they eat her. That's why we have this press conference. Because she has
ooh,
to say something before they jump her.
that's crazy. Yeah, it's yeah. This I think to me this is the line that hits me the most. The empathetic hunger descends because it sounds so good, empathy, but then you're like empathy hunger, and then it's like yeah, like a flock of birds just coming at you. Like it's kind of scary, even if it's like pigeons, right? But imagine now they're like giant vultures with like 8-foot wingspans, like coming at you. And and what do vultures come
You know,
after? Corpses, dead,
dead
dead
things.
things, right? She is part of
Yeah.
this dead. Oh, this. Oh,
Yeah. And also, I just want to point out, she does the thing on the chorus again, where she's going to keep switching up the chorus and she'll come back to the way it was originally. So it's like, it's not really a proper chorus,
yeah,
is it?
yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
We'll tell no one except all of our friends, which I think is like, again, so
Enough.
self-aware of her, right? Like we'll like people always say like, oh yeah, I won't tell anyone, but then we always tell that one friend or that other
It's
friend.
gossipy. It's gossipy. And it's like, again, the description of empathetic hunger. Like they're hiding their hunger for like her pain or whatever behind their empathy.
Yeah, yeah, because we must know. Isn't that such a crazy thing to like say?
You know?
Like we
I
must
know. Like
know.
we have to, we must. Like must is so like we cannot live unless we know why your relationship died.
Yeah.
Like we need it to keep going.
Yeah, yeah, I know a lot of people were saying that like, oh, but Daddy, I love him, and Who's Afraid of Little Old Me as like such a like pointing fingers at like fans, media, critics, whatever. I think this is the song that does it better.
This
Not better,
song
but
does
like
it, and
is
I think
go ahead.
yeah, no, no,
Oh yeah,
like more effective.
yeah, yeah, like this is the one where she because it's not accusatory per se, but it's like it reveals like oh shit, like that was I did oh
Like
like
it was resigned acceptance
yeah.
to be, and she definitely is putting the finger because listen, yeah, no, yeah, especially because it's like when you have the type of writing style that Taylor has, people are always going to want to go in with a diagnosis and go and expecting her to tell them a tale.
Yeah.
And I think there's a certain power of withholding she has by putting this on the anthology and not on the main one, on the main album, because it is like it is like you listen to that full album wanting to know how did it end, and maybe I didn't directly tell you, and now fine, I'll tell you because you have to know. You're mad at me because I didn't give you more information. So here's this song.
Yeah, it is even with how pointed and sad this song is about, the end of a relationship. It is also very much like it's still my relationship. Like you don't have to know everything. And we'll talk more about that as we go through the
Yeah.
song. All right, verse 2. It's my turn, right?
Yeah.
We were blind to unforeseen circumstances. We learned the right steps to different dances and fell victim to interlopers' glances. Lost the game of chance. What are the chances? Soon they'll go home to their husbands, smug 'cause they know they can trust him, then feverishly calling their cousins.
Keep going.
Guess who we ran into at the shops, walking in circles like she was lost. Didn't you hear? They called it all off. One gasp, and then how did it end?
God.
And then the bridge too, man. Oh, wow.
Okay. Let's break this down. We're back in the press conference. So basically the camera shifted on the chorus. It went to the audience who were all watching, right? We're back. All eyes are back up at the speaker at the top of the stage conducting the postmortem. And she goes, "We were blind to unforeseen circumstances." So this is one way a relationship can end. Unforeseen means like they didn't see it coming. Never saw you coming, never would have expected. Anyway, wait, not I just randomly started thinking about the song that she changed.
Better Than
now.
Revenge? Were you singing Better Than
Yeah,
Revenge? Never
yeah.
wouldn't have expected it or whatever.
She,
Oh yeah, I never saw it coming. Wouldn't have expected it.
She underestimated just who she was dealing. I underestimated just who I was dealing with. I don't know why that came to my head.
That's so
but
funny.
It's actually kind of sick because it low key it's in line with the next the verse after the next one.
You need a line after the next one.
But I think it's very interesting to go, we were blind to unforeseen, because blind is not seeing at all. But unforeseen being like things you didn't see coming, even if you weren't blind, you wouldn't have saw it coming.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it was doubly blindsiding.
Yeah, and it was that, and it really shows like how unexpected it was. Like this was not like, oh, went into this and we always had this tumultuous relationship and people were always like, it's never gonna work. Like, what do you like? No, this was like, no, like, yeah, you couldn't see it at all.
Yep.
And then and I think the next line kind of describes it. Like we learned the right steps because we did learn the right steps, right? Like we were taking the right.
We could.
Yeah, but then it turns out they were two different dances.
Different dances. Like they can't, you can't waltz back into rekindled flame.
Oh, I knew you were going to say LOML. What?
Listen, because who's going to stop us from waltzing into rekindled flames if we know the steps anyway? But the problem is they know different steps. They can't, like this time, there's no waltzing back into the rekindled flames.
Yeah.
Because.
Yeah. And before they were dancing with their hands tied, right? Like they were literally bound together, right? But it turns out like, oh, like they couldn't dance through all of these circumstances that.
And the reason they can't is because they're not doing it together. They're not on the same page. And for whatever reason, they can't get back to the same page.
Yeah, and I think that part of it too is like now that I'm looking back at verse 1 and comparing it, like, right, the unforeseen circumstances might have been like that, he was a hothouse flower that maybe we thought didn't need to be a hothouse flower, or she thought that she could morph or evolve into becoming in that greenhouse, right?
She thought she could become one.
Yeah, or maybe that's what she thought she was, like, but as she grew, she was like, wait, this is not the right environment for me to grow and thrive. Like, I need to be out. So, and then and that's actually going to another dancing with our hands tied. Is that one though? It's like, baby, can we dance through an avalanche?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, right.
When the lights hold you as the water rushes in, if I could dance with you again. Oh, brother.
Right, but then there's but turns out like we can't.
They're not even in the same room. They can't dance together.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Guys, Exquisite is not doing okay, just so you know.
Anyway.
She's doing her best though.
I'm trying. I'm doing my best.
All right, now do your interloper's glances.
Yeah, okay. Well, here's the thing. and fell victim to interlopers' glances. The thing about this line, and I think what a lot of people are missing, and hold on, let me like double check before I say this and I'm wrong. Nope, I'm right. The apostrophe in interlopers is after the S, which means there's more than one. And it is the and fell victim is coming after the we. So you have to say it. So the sentence would be, if she was going to start with we again, is we fell victim to interlopers' glances. So there implies that there were two or more because the apostrophe after the S means it's possessive for a group of people.
And just to
It was
step in, so
just
an
one thing.
interloper, if you don't know, is
Yeah,
someone who gets involved in like in a situation or some area, some place where they don't belong or like they're not
yeah,
wanted. Like you're literally interrupting, right? You're breaking
yeah.
into somewhere where you're not supposed to be.
And the thing is, so we know there's more than one, and it's we. So they both fell victim to interlopers' glances. And I just want to point out that we saw, in the context of Tortured Poets Department, we saw how our speaker fell victim to an interloper's glance. And where did we see it? Fresh out the slammer. We
Mm-hmm.
saw it in Fresh Out the Slammer because she was like, all those nights you kept me going, swirled you into all of my poems. So we
Guilty as
have,
sin too.
yeah, and Guilty as Sin, where it's, and the glance is important. It's not that she did anything. It's that they were looking at her and she looked back.
Yeah.
Um, hello, would have, could have, should have? Question mark.
Ooh.
If you would have blinked, then I would have
Yeah.
looked away at the first glance. Um, but yeah, no. So it's like there's an implied two, and I'm gonna stop touching on that bruise and just leave that with the like nebulous her that Taylor gives us all over the main album as well. But I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that alone. There's a nebulous interloper that
Has
um
yeah, has
yeah,
hovered,
yeah. While she
has floated in the orbit of this album.
exactly, while Taylor um is being, she's being protective, I think, of people. And I'm just gonna leave that alone.
And I
I'm
do
gonna
think that Taylor does give another layer of protection, actually, now that you say it like
Yeah,
that, is you could also say that the interlopers could just be people whose opinions did not belong in this relationship in
exactly.
general, right? Whether that's the press, whether that's fans or quote
Literally.
unquote fans, like just fell victim to all of these other people who were trying to peer in or like, hide in the bushes to try to figure out what's going
And
on.
they
Like,
let them look now. Like they were letting them look.
yeah,
Fell victim to their glances,
yeah,
meaning that they were looking at them
yeah.
and there was no like hiding from those looks.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
like I
So
know places, coded. There
yeah,
were no hiding spots there they
yeah,
could hide. Um,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
lost the game of chance. What are the chances?
That's so sad.
Yeah, I mean
Because
Taylor, or comparing love and relationships to games is like very very common. Um,
mhm.
uh, Literally calls it like battles and oh, like love is a ruthless game unless you play it good and right. That's from State of Grace.
Yeah.
um and then yeah, it's just
Yeah.
lost the game of chance, like, because it's a dice roll. Oh yeah, that's what I was trying to think. Devils
Exactly.
roll the
Devils
dice,
roll their dice,
angels roll
angels
their
roll
eyes.
their
Yeah, like lost the
But before it was like it was good dice.
yeah.
It was it was a, it was good,
Okay.
and they lost. So
Yeah, another parallel. This one I got off of Genius. I was flipping through. Is it also parallels daylight. The luck of the draw only draws the unlucky. Which again, happy. Well, turned into happy, right? Because she thought she was so unlucky, but then she found, the the person who brought her daylight. But now she's like, nope. Turns out I went all in, and then I lost the pot.
like she played her aces, she played everything, and she lost. And the thing is, is that like if you go to a casino, I was just at a casino for a friend's birthday actually. And you learn quickly that you should cash out before the house cashes
Yeah,
out on you because the house always wins.
yeah.
So you can only win so much before you will lose everything. And so in this song, she's like mentioning they like the what are the chances for me? That's such a rhetorical question because for her, she was like, she played everything and everything and everything in this game of chance. And it was 50-50 she was going to lose, but actually it was probably like 100% it was going to end. So the what are the chances feels very like almost, especially the way she sings it, it feels sarcastic. She's like, "Oh, what are the chances that I lost?" Well, there
Well,
was a huge chance, and you probably knew that in the back of your mind.
and that we will revisit in the prophecy, which I
Yeah.
again mentioned incorrectly when we first recorded the intro. um, so and then we have I think this verse too. It does something she does a lot where she'll like extend it. Like another
Uh-huh.
song where she does this is like "Call It What You Want To," where she does like the whole thing about like making forts undercover, trust him like a brother. Like it continues. So this one as well, but here we go from the we to the they.
Yeah.
Soon they'll go home to their husband, smug because they know they can trust him. Then feverishly calling their cousins, and so that to me it's like oh like I think is this what you kind of mentioned earlier about how she kind of goes off in the press conference.
Yeah. Like she start like because all of this like she's like devolving. So she's still standing. We're in her voice, right? Because it's going to switch back into the watchers, the onlookers voice in that the chorus
Hmm.
that you already read. But she's still in her voice. And so imagine she's at this press conference and she starts losing it and she's pointing to them and she's like, they'll go home to their husbands and be all smug. And to be smug is to be like feeling better than her because they know they can trust their loved ones and she couldn't trust hers
Which
and
again
they'll feel
goes
better.
back to your our nebulous her.
Exactly. There is a nebulous thing in the air that it's like it's in the orbit. And if you see it, you see it. If you don't, you don't, whatever. I'm not gonna force you to see anything. But so she's like on the stand spiraling in front of us.
Yeah.
Um, and so she's just pointing at them, right? And she's like, they know they can trust them. And then they'll start calling everybody, even though they promised they wouldn't tell anyone. They're gonna call their cousins
Yeah,
and gossip about her.
and I think it's crazy because this singer, right, is clearly alone, has lost the love of their life, and
Mhm.
but these other people have others. They have husbands, they have cousins, but she is standing alone, right? There's no one there for her to
Buddy,
call. She's only calling the media or like the people who want to come one, come
the
all.
people who care about her so much they want to know what happened, but they're not there to comfort. They're there to go back and feverishly, like it is like ravenous, like it's like all consuming them. They have to tell everyone they know, like feverishly,
Yeah,
like that specific words.
yeah.
They call them their
So
cousins.
yeah, so feverishly is like yes. So you see the word like fever in there, like to have a high temperature, but uh, this is like also this idea of like you're kind of manic, right? Sometimes when you're
Yep.
a fever, you can be a little bit like you feel fine, you just want to like go go go, but that's your brain is like not working properly. So that's what they're doing. Like it's as if they're in a manic state. They're
They're
not
so
normal.
excited to have this information. They have to tell the whole world.
Yeah. And what do they say? They say, "Guess what? Did you hear?"
Guess who we ran into at the shops?
First person to
Which
text the group chat.
exactly, which is actually super funny. You want to know why this is like funny to me? The guess who we ran into at the shops is because again, I have this image of someone who's like giving a press conference and like slowly like just the press conference devolves. And it's like, is she giving this press conference at the grocery store? Like she's just wandering the aisles, right?
No.
Just like rambling. And they're like, guys, guess what just happened? It's like me texting Hannah, OMG, Hannah, guess what?
No, literally. Yeah. Yeah. To me, actually, this lyric was so sad to me because it reminded me of Cardigan. Um,
Stop. No,
no,
I don't need to hear.
chasing shadows in the grocery line, right? This idea that
Yeah.
like that she is so hurt and broken, and yet when she thinks she sees him, right? Like even the one, I thought I saw you at the bus stop, I didn't though, right? This idea that yes,
Yep.
it's dead, right? But she's
Yep.
chasing ghosts.
She's
She's
going after that. Yeah.
like,
Or even also like it's like she's in such a state of this loss that she's going through the motions of her routines
yeah,
and not well.
and
Because
even
I
yeah,
imagine if it's a shop and that they recognize her, it's a shop that she frequents often and it's probably a shop that she frequented in her relationship. So now she's just wandering around like she's lost.
and I just love the language that she's purposely chosen. Like, it's not guess who we saw at the shops, guess who we ran into. So you have that image of like, bumping into somebody, but then she's
And
walking,
talking.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this I again, this she's lost and like not going anywhere. And again, and that's, compounded by that she's going in circles. Like, I literally could see her just walking the aisles of a grocery store with a
I'm
cart.
literally about to cry again because because didn't you hear they called it all off? Because like they're on the phone, right? And so you have to imagine this is a one-sided phone call. So if the person on the phone, they're like, guess who we ran into at the shops, wandering in circles as like she was lost. And so probably the other side of the phone call is like, where's her husband?
Or like
Where's her
what's
fiance?
wrong? Or just like, hey, what's wrong with
Why
her?
was she
Yeah.
by herself? Like why was she by herself? And they're like, didn't you hear? They're not together anymore. What do
And
you mean no one told you? I get to be the first to tell you this.
yeah,
They called it all off.
and called it all off. It has this connotation, not just a breakup, but like
The whole life.
and to me it's like a wedding, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's like
You call off a wedding.
calling off right when you say, oh, like they broke up, you say they broke up, right? Oh, they moved out, or but to say, oh, they called it off, that means that it was a huge event, maybe. So again, not speculating on Taylor's life or her
In the
relationship status.
context of the
In the
song,
context of the song, of the speaker,
call it all off.
to call it off gives this implication of there was an engagement party, a wedding, and it's off, right? Like, and
Everything's over.
yeah, it's over, and so obviously that would have this crazy effect of a gasp.
Yeah. And then also like calling it off is you have to call off an event if it's over. Like you can't just if you're about to have a wedding, right? If you break up, you can't just break up. You do have to like call everybody and be like, there is no wedding.
Yeah,
You have to like that is a situation where you have to inform people
yeah.
that you broke up because people are they were buying you gifts.
They
They
were
were coming
RSVPing.
on their way to you. You call off events because it was an event. And so this is an event that they called it all off. And of course, like one gasp. And then she like gasps and she goes, instead of being like, is she okay?
Yes, yes. I'm glad
How
you
did
brought
it
that
end?
up.
It's the first question they ask after hearing this news is not, are they okay? Did she seem okay? Because obviously she's not okay. They just want to know, well, why? How?
It's the literal, the show not tell of the
Yeah.
empathetic hunger descending, like that
Like,
that switch in our brains that go from like wanting to know how why versus
especially,
actually
yeah,
showing empathy.
especially because this is like implicitly someone they know because they like you know them enough to pick up the phone and call your cousin about it. Like, it's someone you know and you don't care how they're doing. You just want to know why it's over. Like, I'm about to be sick.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
This one I think is crazy to me. Yeah, to me the cardigan connection is still just wild.
because and also the I look in people's windows connection, which we'll get to when we get
Yes.
to that song.
Yeah, yeah. That's underrated.
Yeah.
But why don't you take Exquisite's trying to stall before she gets to the
Okay.
bridge.
Wait. Okay. I need you guys, I'm going to take you into my vision here. Okay. So before I read you this bridge, I need you to imagine. Remember, I told you she's at a press conference. And I told you in the last verse, she devolved and started pointing at people. So what I need you to imagine is that the speaker of the press conference has turned around to gather herself as she sings this.
Ooh.
Say it once again with feeling, how the death rattle breathing, silenced as the soul was leaving, the deflation of our dreaming, leaving me bereft and reeling, my beloved ghost in me, sitting in a tree, DYING. It's happening again. How did it end? I can't pretend like I understand. How did it end?
Are you okay?
Yeah.
She's not good. Narrator, she wasn't good. Okay, so while Exquisite's all trying to gather herself, I'm just gonna read. So I think Exquisite made me spiral on this song before, and so to get my revenge, I rewrote the bridge using other Taylor Swift lyrics, line by line. So say it once again with feeling, and so the original is how the I'll read the original and then I'll read my version so you guys can compare. Say it once again with feeling how the death rattle breathing. You might just have dealt the final blow. Silenced as the soul was leaving, break my soul in two. The deflation of our dreaming. I wish I could unrecall how we almost had it all, leaving me bereft and reeling. Just say I loved you the way that you were, my beloved ghost and me, two graves, one gun, sitting in a tree, where we used to sit on children's swings, DYING, old habits die screaming. Oh, I think that made it worse. She just gave a big sigh.
Okay, wait, because like we're really gonna break this down. The starting just from that say it once again with feeling. She's talking to herself. She's like, I need to repeat it. And this time I need to mean it. When I repeat this, like you say it once again, but with feeling this time.
Yeah, that's a
Like
very like a director would say that, like do it again but with more feeling, right? It's very I can
exactly.
do it with a broken heart in my brain.
Yeah. So she's like, again, she's say it once again with feeling. And then this is a full sentence is say it once again with feeling, colon, right? If you were to put
Punctuation.
punctuation. How the death rattle breathing silenced as the soul was leaving. So death rattle breathing is typically like people when people are about to die, like you can hear it, like it's shaky breaths. So she's like, their death rattle breathing, the relationship was dying. Say how that sound silenced when they died.
Yep. We
Like
went from
it went
like to all of a sudden
to
nothing.
nothing. Was silenced as the soul was leaving. So not like the soul, like oh my goodness, as like the very spirit of their relationship just left.
Yep.
It died. Um, and we had seen like in the you're losing me with some of the death rattle breathing,
Yep.
especially because it was written. It was written during the Midnight's era.
Yep.
That's it was written in 2021.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. No, so when I was making that little poem thing, I could have picked basically any line to go with how the death rattled breathing, silenced as the soul was leaving, right? Because we have um I can't find a pulse, my heart won't start anymore, right? Like
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
how long could we be a sad song till we're too far gone to bring back to life?
Please make it stop.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like the deflation of our dreaming. So what you have to imagine. So the soul leaves and everything deflates and shrinks and gets small and just like it becomes nothing anymore.
Yeah,
Like
deflation is like the opposite of a balloon blowing up. It's all the air
it's
has been pulled out.
everything, all of it. Like to suck the air out of a place means to like end like ugh.
And like if you've ever seen like a hot air balloon and how beautiful it is when it's floating, when it's inflated, but then all of a sudden this hot air balloon has popped and you when you see something that beautiful, not I wouldn't even say popped. I would say like the air as it slowly leaves and you see the collapse of the fabric, right? And it just like it really is sad as it crumples, right? Into like, just to be a flap of
Yeah.
fabric and to have a beautiful dream that was floating and beautiful and full of life, to see it empty like a shell is so sad.
And then so the deflation of their grieving left her bereft. Leaving me bereft is also like to be left a hollow shell.
Yeah.
So and reeling. So reeling is like, imagine she's spinning out. She's just losing her mind at this. Like,
Yeah. To be
not only
reeling
is
is
she
like,
losing it.
yeah, like you're like off kilter, right? You're like, you've lost your balance.
Why
Um,
she's walking in circles.
yeah, like emotionally and physically, you can be reeling.
And then she does the stupid, like, it's not stupid. It's stupid because it's hurting me. But she does like this youthful, it's supposed to be like, the child jingle. It's like, hold on, I'm about to use Hannah as an example. It's like Jason and Hannah sitting in a tree, Kissing. First comes the love, then comes the marriage, then comes the baby in the baby carriage,
Yes.
right? That's how it's supposed to be. But for her, it's my beloved ghost in me sitting in a tree, Dying, and there is nothing left of the poem. Like, the poem ends abruptly because
Because they're dead.
they're dead.
And it's
They
crazy
died.
because it's not two characters really. It's my beloved ghost. It's the shell or the not the shell, I guess, because it's incorporeal. It's
The
this ghost.
soul.
Yeah,
The
like just this,
soul.
the wisps of this person and me are sitting in a tree. Like they're not here. They're gone.
And
They've
they're gonna
left.
be leaving. Like, the soul's gonna be leaving as well.
Yeah.
Silence of the soul was leaving. Um, and it's like Taylor has this thing with ghosts too.
Yeah.
I immediately want to go to like Beautiful Ghost that she wrote for cats because she wrote it for cats, so I don't want to go there. But at least you have beautiful ghosts. But no, even the ghost of the thing is dying, and she's dying. They're just up in that tree dying. Like,
Yeah.
say it once again with feeling how the death rattle breathing, silenced as the soul was leaving, deflation of our dreaming, leaving me bereft and reeling. So she has ing all the way down. She breaks the pattern with my beloved ghost and me sitting in a tree, but then she spells out the ing.
I love that you saw that. Oh yeah, because at the end she does the DYING, right? It's like
Like, it's so bad she can't even say it. She can't say it. She can spell it though. She's telling us what happened, and it is like, she literally told us she couldn't say it because in in Down Bad, how can you say that it's because she can't say the
oh,
words,
it's like
and
she
she can't
in that
say
one
the
she couldn't
words
say over, and in this one she
Yeah,
can't say
she
dying.
can't say dying. She can only spell it. She can only imply.
Ooh, it's like when you have kids and you don't want to like say a bad word, so you spell it
Yeah.
out. Like that
She's
woman
like
is so
trying to
ANNOYING, right? Because you don't want to
yeah.
say annoying, but then
She's trying to like ease the ache for those of us listening and for herself by just spelling it out. Like, maybe that'll make it hurt less. And it doesn't.
it does not. It does not. And
Because especially when you remember like the rest of that little kid's poem implies like future and
mhm.
family. And that's also what died. Like, the deflation of the dreaming. Like, the dreaming is in the rest of the future of that poem. And the poem ends. It ends at the part where it doesn't.
I know.
Anyway, it's happening again. This breaks my heart. It's especially because, guys, it's hard for us to talk about the her delivery because we can't play you the delivery.
Yeah.
But she doesn't even say the come one, come all right after the DYNG. She just like, and you can hear the utter heartbreak when she goes, "It's happening again. How did it end?" She's asking herself, like, how did it end? She doesn't know.
Because she literally says, I can't pretend like I understand. How did it end? Like, it's like how sometimes, you might have all the facts, and yet it doesn't make, even though you know, like, oh, this happened, like a timeline, you still don't understand why did it happen or how did we get here. There's still so many questions, even though you might know some of the variables.
Yeah, and then she ends the song like the first chorus. Do you want to read it because it did change, Hannah?
Come one, come all, it's happening again. The empathetic hunger descends. We'll tell no one except all of our friends, but I still don't know. How did it end? Right? And we see again here that, she is so alone. I alluded to that earlier, but the fact that she's alone on that podium with people feverishly texting their cousins and coworkers, and you can see the media like immediately like leave the room and try to be the one to scoop and run out and do their little video packages, but she's alone and trying to figure out, still can't figure out really like what and why, despite everyone else filling in the gaps on her behalf, which is crazy. I'm trying to stall Exquisite. Are you okay? Exquisite. I did not think. I guess no. This makes sense. This both So Long London and How Did It End are both the track fives, and so it makes sense that these are the ones that make you lose it a little more than you know.
Oh my goodness. Because it's like I'm like caused my nose to start running. Um like oh my god, I don't have words. Like I'm kind of like silence and reeling in the aftermath because okay, we try not to get like we try to have distinction and we say speaker,
Yeah.
but it is just so utterly heartbreaking because I'm about to get real parasocial because I remember when it hit the headlines and the first thing everybody was like we were all in disbelief,
Yeah, that was first denial.
and then we all got extremely just sad where it was like what happened. And I remember because it was like she had just written so many songs of just like pure adoration
Mm-hmm.
of this relationship she was in. She loved him. And that's the worst part. He was her best friend, and that was the worst part. And we could tell, like, because Taylor is such a good writer, that we could feel just how much she loved him. She loved him to the point where it scared her what happened to herself when she lost him. She said she'd never walk Cornelia Street again. And here she's like, it left her bereft and reeling. So exactly what she feared happened. And the fact that she doesn't even know why it happened. Just it's heartbreaking. Um, she doesn't know why it happened, and i just I just think about how lonely that is because even the thing that helps her process things, which is writing music, if the song ends with her going, I wrote all of this and I still don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Which
She
is,
tried to play
she
say
tried to what?
she tried to play all her hands, like she tried to show her hands because that's what had happened before. Do you remember in Cornelia Street,
Mm-hmm.
packed my bags, left Cornelia Street before
I
um
hit the tunnel. Oh, wait.
yeah,
But then you called, showed
showed
your
your
hand,
hand,
turned
brought me
around
back
before
to
I
health.
hit the tunnel.
Yeah, yeah. So before, like, if she just if she could just open up and be like that, but that didn't work. It didn't work. It had to be over, and she had to be the one to end it, and that's probably what hurts worse.
Yeah, and it's so possible to end a relationship and to see the disarray and the ruin and yet still be like, I don't know how we got here, right? And I don't know how
I
to
can
process it.
logically tell you everything. That's the part about it is that like logically, she like logically in the song, especially when she's singing those verses, like the way she's performing it, it's all giving like she's saying all that she's just saying these statements very logically. And she's like telling herself, just say it and maybe it'll make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't make sense of it.
Yeah.
Even if you just put it outright. They were interlopers. He wanted to be inside and I wanted to be outside. I needed to bejewel and this was never going to work. And even if you just state all of that, it doesn't matter when you're still heartbroken.
Mm-hmm.
And it's doubly heartbreaking because now you have to tell everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like friends, family, people you don't even know because they care, quote unquote.
Yeah. It was very like it could be very, you could be very chronological, you could have all the facts, but then that doesn't necessarily mean there's answers in them,
Yeah.
like
And grief is so weird about that because it's like I know exactly what happened.
yeah.
And yeah. And then also like in this song, there are there are parts like even on the album, like the entire album is this exercise in trying to figure out what the hell happened. Um And for her to just outright state, like, I don't know, even though, like, she knows, but she doesn't know. And like she doesn't know why there was nothing that could cure their maladies, right? And so something she thought she'd have forever, it's over.
Yeah.
It's because they lost that game of chance. And part of it, it feels like in this, she's trying not to put the blame on anyone. She's like, it was nobody's fault. She even says, like, she said this when she tweeted about the album, where she was like, that time of the author's life is over now and boarded up, and it was nobody's fault. And she says that in Fortnite too.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's here to blame. But what
Nobody here
about
is
you?
to blame. But what about your quiet treason? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh, I'm sick. I'm sick.
Yes. Yes. It is so sad. I'm looking at the Genius page right now, and this song was added to the Old Habits Die Screaming Depression playlist. I was like, yes, thank you for reminding us. Um, but yeah, let me. So I will say, I know we are all sad, and as we come to near the end of the episode, next week we'll be happy. Okay, it's so high school, just to give you a little bit of hope, right? I know people sometimes think Taylor's track lists give whiplash, but I want to say she does it purposefully and
Yeah,
effectively.
I think the fact that So High School comes right after this is necessary. It makes sense to me that it comes right after this because she's like, she's so hopeless at the end of how did it end.
Uh,
So
yeah,
hopeless. And then she's like, well, actually,
we are so back.
we are so back. We are so back in ways that she never knew she needed to be back.
Or could be.
Exactly. She's like, it was over. But now it's not. We're so bad. That's still over. And also it's important because it's like grief is not linear. You can still find happiness even while you're in like the darkest storms ever.
Agree.
Um
Um, so yeah, do we just do like a crying emoji for today? Oh,
hold on. I think hold on. Because I think there is there like a deck of cards emojis or could you yeah, there's like a Joker card emoji. We could do that for like poker.
okay. Okay, yeah. If you type in Joker, it should show up. For the whole like the are you saying it's for like the game of chances or
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it's yeah, I know this was sad, but this is I think one of the highlights of the album for me. There's lots of highlights. You might hear me say this every week, but this one I
Uh,
think was just so hard to hear, both in that she is going through a lot, but also just kind of being like, hey, like, how gossipy have I been, you know? Or how are we more careful to be empathetic without the hunger descending? So yeah,
so the next couple ones are actually going to be we get So High School and then I Hate It Here back to back, which is going to be fun.
yes. Ooh.
And then Thank You, Amy.
Yeah, we're gonna that graph. We're so back and we're not like that up and down is
It's
gonna
about
be
to be
for like a.
because what happens right after Thank You, Amy?
I look in
I look
people's.
at people's windows and the prophecy, we're about to be back over, and then over the rest of
Yeah, there's a lot of over, and then you get like a little reprieve with the Bolter, cause like you got a little cute
Yeah, that
song,
one's fun.
and then you get Robin, which is like a reflection on youth, and and then the manuscript. Well,
Oh,
the manuscript I think is gonna be a great way to end, um,
fun.
as Taylor knew how to close an album.
Yep.
But yeah. Well, thank you everyone for listening. We will be back again soon with So High School. If you're so inclined, leave us a tip on Ko-Fi. We're also trying to find a way to do it via Spotify, but I don't know when that's going to happen. If you are listening to this way later, we might already been doing it. So, but yes, thank you all so much for your support. We love all your tweets and comments, and we really do appreciate them. And we promise Exquisite will cry a lot less next week.
Maybe.
Happy tears next week, I guess.
Yeah. I'm
All
gonna
right.
make myself so mad.
Bye. Thank you all.